the humble life. For our reflection tonight, we spend time in the story of Esther. Esther was far from home. The nation of Israel was defeated, exiled. Through a series of strange circumstances, she became queen. And no one knows her true lineage, that she is a Jew. She has no family except her uncle Mordecai. He walks daily by the gate to keep watch on the girl. Mordecai is a fascinating character who tries to stay mostly in the background, but he makes all the difference. A reading from Esther chapter 2. When the virgins were being gathered, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Now Esther had not revealed her kindred or her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther obeyed Mordecai just as when she was brought up by him. In those days, while Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus. But the matter came to the knowledge of Mordecai, and he told it to Queen Esther. And Esther told the king in the name of Mordecai. When the affair was investigated and found to be so, both the men were hanged on the gallows. It was recorded in the book of Annals in the presence of the king. Mordecai discovers the conspiracy to kill the king. As a person in exile from his home, Mordecai could easily consider the king his enemy. But this news, it gives him a choice. Let the king be killed. Let there be a disruption to the ruling powers over this land and his people. Or value life. Do the right thing. A reading from a poem, Desiderata, Words for Life, by Max Enram. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Mordecai speaks the truth quietly and clearly. He embodies the words of Jesus that he would eventually tell his followers in Luke's Gospel, the 6th chapter. But love your enemies and do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Mordecai doesn't take this news of conspiracy directly to the king or draw attention to himself. He performs a good deed without hope or promise of a reward. He's not pushing for personal advancement or glory. He waits patiently, quietly, humbly. Mordecai is living his life for God. An excerpt from the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated don't give way to hating. And yet don't look good, nor talk too wise. Mordecai is a person who values life and does the right thing, simply because it's the right thing. He's not worried about looking too good or talking too wise. It's not about him. He doesn't kneel or give attention to anyone that's not worthy of it. His full worship, his full attention is reserved for God. A reading from Esther, the 3rd chapter. We continue a little more of our story. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced and set his seat above all the officials who were with him. And all the king's servants who were at the king's gate bowed down and did obedience to Haman. For the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai did not bow down or do obedience. Then the king's servants who were at the king's gates said to Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's command?" When they spoke to him day after day, and he would not listen to them, they told Haman in order to see whether Mordecai's words would avail, for he told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow down or do obedience to him, Haman was infuriated. But he thought it beneath him to lay hands on Mordecai alone. So having been told who Mordecai's people were, Haman plotted to destroy all of the Jews, the people of Mordecai, throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. Mordecai is only able to hide in the shadows for so long. Other people are so much more interested in personal glory than he is. This one man in the king's court, Haman, was elevated to a seat higher than all the other nobles in the king's court. And he wanted to be treated accordingly. All the royal officials bowed to Haman. Everyone bowed to Haman. Well, not everyone. A reading from Wild Geese, a poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. Mordecai would not kneel down before Haman nor pay him honor. Mordecai refused to comply. He simply told them he was a Jew. He would not bow before Haman or to the king or to anyone. The Peace of Wild Things, a poem by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. Some scholars of the Bible believe Mordecai refused to kneel because of the Jewish law that we would know well from the Ten Commandments that forbids idolatry. Thou shalt not have any gods before me. But others argue we can find examples of Jewish people bowing before kings in Scripture. As a nation, they had their own kings, and Saul and David and Solomon. We can find examples in Scripture of Joseph and Daniel in service of foreign monarchs, trapped in foreign lands, doing whatever is necessary to survive. In Mordecai, perhaps we see something else. Not bowing before Haman is perhaps something more than just obeying the religious law. As we heard more of the story, Haman did not have to do too much to become a tyrant, making sure he was the most powerful noble in the court. And when things did not go his way, when one person did not bow to him, he was ready to kill an entire race, quick to turn on others based upon differences of religion and race. Perhaps another way for us to observe Mordecai is that he refuses to bow to cruelty and hatred. He refuses to bow to Haman's thirst for power over others. One of the remarkable things about the book of Esther is that nowhere in the story does it mention the name of God. No mention of God's name. God does not speak. There are no exchanges between God and people discussing the commandments, what to do or what not to do. No Sabbath, no festivals. And yet, we have Mordecai living a life of gratitude and humility in service to the one who has given him everything. Mordecai honors God, perhaps not by name, but by action, by living the humble life. The contrast of these two characters, Haman and Mordecai, it reminds me of Paul's letter to the Philippians in the 2nd chapter. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. This story offers us a very distinct choice, friends, in how we hear the call to live with one another. Live in humility. Value others above yourselves. Will you be a Haman or a Mordecai? A song lyric. Love, Come Lighten My Load, by Roger Klein and the Peacemakers. Open up my hands. Open my arms. Open my eyes. Open my heart up wide. Revolutions on the inside.